All right, good evening, pre-calculus seniors. It's Mr. Lovelace, and this is our first video for this week of our first week of our adventure I guess you could call it an unusual situation for all of us. But I think we'll get through this all right, guys. We're just going to have to be flexible and try some new things. So here we go. This first video is about our lesson topic for this week and next week, which is rational functions and their graphs. So what I have open is I'd like you to have your book open to page 340. So if you've got that available, go ahead and open it. And then take a look at this definition right here in the middle of the page. Okay, so we're taking a function f of x and we're creating it by making a ratio, which is where the word rational first comes from, or a fraction where the numerator and the denominator are both themselves functions, p of x and q of x. And specifically, we're looking at P and Q polynomial functions. So if you think back to Algebra 2, spent some time looking at polynomial functions. In this example, here in the middle of the page, right below that definition, f of x is made up of two functions, two expressions, I should say. They create a function when we write them in this fraction form, this ratio. So the numerator is a quadratic expression. The denominator is in factored form already. And you can see that if you were to multiply this all the way out using FOIL, perhaps on these two parts, and then distributing the value, the x, you would get a cubic function. So this new function f of x is made by taking a quadratic function and dividing it by a cubic function. And then one more piece of information here. We've talked quite a bit this year about domain, how the domain is the set of all the values of x that are available as inputs for our function f. And so you'll note down below it says the set of all real numbers except. So remember, when you're looking at the domain, we always start with the biggest possible set, which is all real numbers. And then we look at any values of x that might not be available. And those will relate back to those two things we can't do, which are divide by 0 or take the square roots of negatives. So in this type of function, typically what you're looking at is the denominator to find out what values of x would make the denominator 0. And if there are any, we have to take them out of the domain. So here we have a 0, a 2, and a -5, and any of those would make the denominator 0. And so we have to exclude them from the set of all real numbers when we're talking about the domain. So that's a quick overview of the type of functions we're going to look at. And then what I've asked you to do for this week, part of what your work will be this week, is to look at this worksheet packet on rational functions. So this is the rational functions packet. And if you look back at your schedule, all I've asked you to do is to completely factor the numerator and denominator of each one of these functions. So you're going to want to have this other resource available, the factoring polynomials packet. There's a great flow chart on the front. And then you'll notice also lots of examples inside there that will help you. And so we're going to go ahead and do problem number 1 together. And you'll notice, right, this is always the first step in factoring, is to factor out the greatest common factor of the GCF if one exists. So we're looking at problem number 1 on this worksheet. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is rewrite this because we're going to try some factoring. The numerator, the -2 is our greatest common factor, so we're going to factor that out of each term, or that is divide it out of each term. We would get x squared plus 7x plus 12. Notice we take out the negative sign. So we're going to divide that out of each part, which is going to leave positive values here. The denominator, the greatest common factor is 1. So we're going to go ahead and use our factoring methods, which we've done a lot of over the last few years. And then go back to the numerator and then take another look at that trinomial. And we would be able to factor that out as well, like that. Okay, so for problem number 1, this would be the result. Okay, the numerator and the denominator have been completely factored, and this is where you can stop. We'll go further in the next lesson, probably first part of next week, and talk about what these things are referring to, discontinuity and holes. And also, you're already noticing probably that there are factors here that are the same. And because we have fractions, when we have factors the same, we can always divide them out. So what does that do, right? When we do that, what does that actually do to the function? How does it relate back to these ideas here? So even though you're going to see other things come up in the instructions for these problems, all I want you to do is do what we just did for problem number 1, which is completely factor the numerator and denominator and write them in factored form, and then once again use this factoring polynomials packet to help you do that. Okay, that's a quick overview. Quickly, just sort of looking at your schedule once again. Tomorrow, really, this is the video that I'm posting. So if you're watching it now, you've got that part done and then working on those problems. But once again, I made this before we're sort of realizing that you're going to have a work study assignment. So if you don't get to this until Wednesday, that's fine. I will have office hours here according to your period, and then also from 3 to 4:30 p.m. In addition, there are Khan Academy lessons posted for you for additional practice and review. We'll discuss all of this on Thursday during our class day. This is probably going to change. I'm having some issues, and after talking with other teachers and students, probably going to switch this to a Zoom meeting instead of a Google Meet. I'll be posting a video probably tomorrow on Tuesday regarding how that will happen. It'll be very similar. Zoom is a free app as well, and you'll just have to download that onto your phone or device that you're using for signing into the meeting. It's very easy, and it seems to work a lot more smoothly. I will probably move this due date back to Friday, and then we'll talk more in our class on Thursday about the assessment. Okay, so that's a quick overview of the week. Don't forget to check your Google group to make sure you can connect to that and post your questions in the parking lot. And then I think that's all I have for you. Office hours on Wednesday, so send me an email if anything comes up or any issues that you're having, and we'll try to attack those as quickly as possible. So thanks again, guys, for being flexible. Let me know how it's going. Always your feedback is welcome. All right, take care. Have a great day.